doesn't have to end like this, Sam.
Get ready, guys. We are about to cover 2 decades of shadows, gadgets, and espionage in this one video. In 2002, Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell hit Xbox with Unreal Engine 2 tech, Michael Ironside's Sam Fisher, and a light/sound stealth model that defined the series. From Pandora Tomorrow's Spies versus Mercs and Chaos Theory's high-stakes East Asia crisis, every chapter did sharpen the playbook. After years of cameos and silence, Ubisoft Toronto is rebuilding the original in Snowdrop as a full remake. And now the brand new show, Splinter Cell, Deathwatch is landing on Netflix this October 14th, 2025. It's an adult animated series written by Derek Kolstad of John Wick fame and is set after Chaos Theory. We are tracing the entire journey from the first split jump to this all-new on-screen revival, right now. The story begins in August 2004, when former Navy SEAL Sam Fisher is recruited into the NSA's experimental Third Echelon program. Under the command of Irving Lambert, and with the technical expertise of Anna Grimsdottir, Fisher becomes the division's first field operative, a Splinter Cell. His inaugural assignment takes him to Georgia after 2 CIA agents vanish while monitoring the regime of President Combine Nikoladze, who recently seized control in a coup. Fisher's infiltration quickly reveals the grim truth. Both agents have been executed on Nikoladze's orders. Working with ex-Spetsnaz commander Vyacheslav Grinko, Nikoladze has been orchestrating an ethnic cleansing campaign in neighboring Azerbaijan. This alone threatens regional stability, but the situation intensifies when a devastating cyber attack cripples US military infrastructure. Nikoladze claims responsibility, escalating tensions into the possibility of open war. Tracing the source of the breach, Fisher uncovers a mole inside the CIA who had unknowingly exposed data through Kalinotech, a Georgian-controlled tech firm in Virginia. Fisher's mission into Kalinotech secures encryption keys critical to dismantling Nikoladze's communications network, but comes at a heavy cost. His field runner, Vernon Wilkes, is mortally wounded during extraction. The personal loss underscores the stakes of Fisher's covert role. Following the digital trail, Fisher is deployed to Myanmar, where he uncovers Nikoladze's alliance with Chinese General Kong Fei-rong. Nikoladze provides nuclear waste in exchange for advanced weaponry, a partnership that could ignite conflict between China and the United States if exposed. Fisher sabotages the plan by rescuing American soldiers slated for execution in a live-streamed spectacle and eliminating Grinko during the operation. His pursuit continues at the Chinese embassy, where he confronts Fei-rong. Prevented from suicide, Fei-rong is forced to reveal that Nikoladze has returned to Georgia to activate a device known as the Ark. The Ark proves to be a suitcase nuclear bomb already planted on US soil. Fisher infiltrates the Georgian presidential palace, where Nikoladze is sheltered by his political successor, Varlam Kristovi. Cornering the Georgian leader, Fisher executes him on Lambert's direct orders, preventing the detonation but triggering international outrage. The bomb is secretly retrieved by US forces from a Maryland apartment complex, disguised as a routine gas leak evacuation. The crisis averted, Fisher watches the US president's televised speech. But before he can take in the relief, Lambert contacts him with a secure call. The world may never know Sam Fisher's name, but his work in the shadows is only beginning. The sequel opens in March 2006, when the United States establishes a military presence in newly independent East Timor. Their training mission is immediately threatened by Indonesian guerrilla militias opposed to East Timor's sovereignty, led by Suhardi Sudono, a former CIA asset who once fought communism but has since turned violently against US influence. When Sudono's men storm the American embassy in Dili, capturing military and diplomatic personnel, Third Echelon dispatches Sam Fisher to secure the hostages. Among them is Douglas Shetland, Fisher's old comrade turned private military contractor. The rescue mission reveals a disturbing new player, a rogue agent known only as Mortified Penguin. Fisher traces the codename to Paris, where mercenaries under Mortified raid a cryogenics lab to steal ND-133 containers, capable of safely transporting biological agents. Third Echelon identifies Mortified as Norman Soth, a former CIA operative embittered after being maimed and abandoned by his government. Soth plans to weaponize smallpox, coordinating with Sadano's militia. To guarantee his own survival, Sadano institutes an insurance policy codenamed Pandora Tomorrow. If he is killed or captured, Soth's operatives will release the virus inside the United States. This strategy forces Sadano into a visible leadership role, parading on the front lines to ensure his safety. Fisher is ordered to infiltrate multiple battlefronts and bug Sadano's daily phone calls, allowing Third Echelon to trace the network of ND-133 containers. The coordinated effort gradually neutralizes the threat, with NSA agents dismantling Soth's bioweapon cells across the globe. With most of the containers secured, Lambert insists Fisher take Sadano alive, unwilling to repeat the diplomatic firestorm of Nicoladz's assassination. Working alongside CIA agent Ingrid Carlsson, Fisher captures Sadano at a Jakarta television station, stripping the militia of its charismatic figurehead. But one ND-133 remains in play. Third Echelon discovers that Soth intends to detonate the final smallpox container inside Los Angeles International Airport. Fisher infiltrates the terminal, disguised as a maintenance worker, and eliminates Soth's mercenaries before confronting the rogue agent himself. In the final exchange, Soth is killed, and Fisher secures the container. To avoid mass panic, Fisher stages the discovery of the device, leaving it for local police to call in the bomb squad, who neutralize it in a controlled detonation. With Sadano in custody and Soth eliminated, the bioterror crisis ends without catastrophe. East Timor strengthens its alliance with the United States, while Fisher and Third Echelon move quietly back into the shadows, leaving the world unaware of how close it came to a biological disaster. By June 2007, global tensions are spiraling in East Asia. Japan has created an Information Self-Defense Force, ISDF, a move condemned by China and North Korea as a violation of its post-war constitution. When Japanese systems suffer crippling blackouts, suspicion escalates into open confrontation, with Chinese and North Korean forces establishing a blockade in the Yellow Sea. To counter this, the United States dispatches the USS Clarence E. Walsh, a state-of-the-art warship, hoping to deter escalation. Sam Fisher is drawn into this storm from the start. His mission begins in Peru, where American programmer Bruce Morgenholt is kidnapped by Hugo Lacerda's separatist group. Morgenholt had been working on deciphering the Masse kernels, weaponized algorithms capable of hijacking digital systems. Fisher arrives too late. Morgenholt is executed, and the kernels are unleashed, leading to catastrophic blackouts in Japan and the US East Coast. Fisher tracks Lacerda aboard his ship and eliminates him, but the kernels are already in circulation. Third Echelon follows the trail to New York, where Fisher investigates Abraham Zherkezhi, a contact linked to the stolen data. Douglas Shetland, Fisher's old friend and head of private military company Displace International, is revealed to be protecting Zherkezhi. Fisher infiltrates Displace's offices and learns of arms dealer Milan Nedic, who has relocated Zherkezhi to Hokkaido. There, Fisher confronts Nedic and Shetland. In a brutal turn, Shetland executes Zherkezhi, cutting ties with his old ally and vanishing into the shadows. The crisis intensifies when the Clarence E. Walsh is sunk by a North Korean missile on July 4th, dragging the United States and Korea to the brink of war. Fisher investigates the launch site and discovers it was manipulated remotely. The apparent accident gives way to a full-scale invasion of South Korea. On the ground in Seoul, Fisher uncovers the truth. Shetland has orchestrated the conflict, using the kernels to hijack missile systems and ignite chaos. His ideology is radical: destroy the existing world order and rebuild from the ashes. Fisher tracks Shetland to Tokyo, where a meeting with ISDF officials collapses into violence. In a climactic rooftop standoff, Shetland appeals to their friendship, but Fisher executes him, choosing duty over loyalty. Yet the deeper conspiracy runs through Admiral Toshiro Otomo of the ISDF, seeking to restore imperial power to Japan. Otomo plans to launch a North Korean nuclear strike on a Japanese city to trigger World War. Fisher infiltrates ISDF headquarters, dismantles the plot, and captures Otomo before he can commit seppuku. Tried before the United Nations, Otomo accepts full responsibility, stabilizing East Asia and narrowly averting World War III. By late 2007, Sam Fisher is broken. After years of covert operations, he is devastated by the sudden death of his daughter, Sarah, in a drunk driving accident. Reeling from grief, Fisher is pulled from active duty, only to be reassigned under an even more dangerous role. Third Echelon, with Lambert's backing, asks him to infiltrate John Brown's army, a domestic terrorist organization. To embed him, the NSA engineers his arrest and incarceration at Ellsworth Prison in Kansas, where he befriends inmate Jamie Washington. Together, they stage an escape that cements Fisher's cover and earns him entry into the JBA. The story then splits across two versions of the game. On Xbox 360, PC, and later PS3, the JBA operates out of a fortified Brooklyn headquarters. On PS2, Xbox, GameCube, and Wii, the group is based in New Orleans. The broad strokes remain consistent. Fisher walks a razor's edge between the NSA and the JBA, but missions, level designs, and even story beats diverge between platforms. Inside the JBA compound, every mission becomes a test of loyalty. Lambert quietly feeds Fisher NSA objectives, while JBA leaders Emile Dufresne and Carson Moss demand ruthless action. In one initiation, Fisher is ordered to execute a helicopter pilot. Later, he must decide whether to let a bomb destroy a cruise ship in Cozumel, sabotage it quietly, or frame weapons specialist Enrique Villablanca. Each choice alters his trust, standing with both factions. The JBA's ambitions escalate as they acquire red mercury, an unstable explosive material capable of mimicking nuclear devastation. Missions take Fisher from Shanghai to the Sea of Okhotsk and Kinshasa, revealing terrorist alliances with Masoud Ibn Yusuf and Alejandro Takfir. The JBA plans simultaneous strikes on Los Angeles, Mexico City, and New York. Fisher is forced into harrowing choices: assassinate allies like CIA agent Hisham Hamza, shoot Lambert himself when he's caught infiltrating the compound, or risk blowing his cover by defying orders. The climax unfolds at JBA headquarters. Depending on the version, Fisher dismantles the terror cell while sabotaging bombs, rescuing allies, and eliminating Emile and Moss. Canonically, he prevents the cruise ship disaster, spares Hisham, but executes Lambert to keep his cover intact, long enough to disarm the final bomb. A SWAT raid closes in, and Fisher either escapes in disguise or goes rogue after Enrique's death at the hands of the NSA, depending on which platform you're playing, swearing revenge against his own agency. Across both interpretations, Double Agent pushed the series into morally grey territory, where loyalty, betrayal, and grief blurred the line between operative and outlaw. Set in 2009, Essentials opens 1 year after the catastrophic events of Double Agent. Sam Fisher, still mourning Sarah's death, slips into Washington, D.C.'s Elysian Fields Cemetery to visit her grave on the anniversary of her passing. Agents are already watching. He is arrested at the site and dragged to NSA headquarters at Fort Meade, where interrogators confront him with his past. The game's story unfolds as a series of flashback missions during questioning. The first takes players back to Colombia in 1992, when Fisher was still a Navy SEAL. His commanding officer, Douglas Shetland, is captured by FARC guerrillas. Defying direct orders, Sam mounts a solo rescue, forging the bond that later unravels in chaos theory. Another mission rewinds to October 2004, dropping Fisher onto the GFO oil rig during the Georgian information crisis, a key operation tied to Nikoladz's network. The frame story closes in the present. Pushed to admit where his loyalties lie, Fisher confesses to killing Irving Lambert. Using the chaos of interrogation as cover, he steals sensitive NSA evidence and escapes custody, leaving Fort Meade behind. Broken, hunted and cut off, Fisher's fugitive path toward conviction begins here. By 2010, Sam Fisher has walked away from Third Echelon. Broken by Sarah's apparent death and embittered by years of deception, he drifts into a life off the grid. But peace is fleeting. When Victor Coste, his trusted friend and former Navy SEAL comrade, pulls him into a barroom brawl in Malta, Fisher learns Sarah's death was no accident. A trail of mercenaries leads him back toward a conspiracy tied to his old agency. The game opens with a prologue in the Archer and Kestrel co-op campaign, set 10 days before the main story. These two Splinter cells, working under Third Echelon, uncover a Russian arms deal that hints at a larger conspiracy. Their findings set the stage for Fisher's return in the single-player narrative. The solo campaign begins as Fisher hunts the truth about Sarah. His investigation brings him face-to-face with Anna Grimsdottir, now compromised inside Third Echelon, who reveals the shocking truth. Sarah is alive, hidden for her safety. Her death had been staged by Lambert before his own assassination in Double Agent. The revelation reframes Sam's grief and ignites his anger against those who manipulated him. Third Echelon itself has changed. Under new director Tom Reed, the agency has turned into a rogue entity, using its resources for political power. Fisher learns Reed is working with secretive conspirators, including Black Arrow private military contractors, to orchestrate a coup against the US president. As Fisher unravels the plot, he confronts key figures from his past, including Andrei Kobin, the arms dealer who first lured him to Malta, and discovers how deeply Lambert's sacrifice had protected both him and Sarah. Gameplay reflects Fisher's new state of mind. No longer the patient shadow of chaos theory, he moves like a predator. The mark and execute system allows him to chain takedowns with lethal precision, while last known position tricks enemies into attacking decoys. Interrogations grow brutal, with Sam smashing heads against sinks or pinning enemies to walls to extract intel. It's a harsher, angrier Fisher, and the narrative supports it. The climax takes place in the White House, where Reed attempts to assassinate the president to cement control. Fisher and Coste storm the building, neutralize Black Arrow forces, and expose Reed's treachery. In the final confrontation, Sam has the option to execute Reed or let him face justice, but the coup collapses either way. Conviction closes not with Fisher returning to duty, but with him reclaiming his personal life. Sarah is alive, safe, and reunited with him. For the first time in years, Sam Fisher has a reason to fight not for orders, but for family. 2 years after the fall of Third Echelon, Sam Fisher is no longer a lone wolf. With the US president's backing, he forms Fourth Echelon, a lean, covert ops unit operating from the Paladin, a converted C-147 aircraft. Anna Grimsdottir returns as his analyst, joined by CIA operative Isaac Briggs, tech whiz Charlie Cole, and Sam's longtime friend Victor Coste. The timing is critical. An extremist network known as the Engineers launches the Blacklist, a series of escalating attacks designed to force the United States to withdraw all troops stationed overseas. The Engineers make their presence known with a devastating assault on a US Air Force base in Guam. Victor Coste is gravely injured, while Sam barely survives. The group's leader, Majid Sadiq, a disillusioned former MI6 officer, warns that more attacks will come on American soil unless their demands are met. From here, Fourth Echelon races across the globe, piecing together the engineers' network. Sam's hunt begins in Benghazi, where he extracts old adversary Andriy Kobin, now tied to the engineers' arms pipeline. Leads then point to Iraq and Paraguay, where Sam encounters Reza Nouri, a broker with Iranian ties. Though the CIA wants confirmation of Tehran's involvement, Sam discovers the engineers have deliberately framed Iran to heighten international tensions. With the false trail exposed, Sam shifts focus back home, disrupting an operation in Chicago and thwarting another attack in Philadelphia. The engineers retaliate by striking directly at the Paladin and seizing the Sabine Pass LNG terminal on the Gulf Coast. Fourth Echelon fends off the attack, but Sadiq's true plan comes into focus. He intends to trigger continuity of government protocols, forcing the transfer of classified data to a hardened bunker beneath Denver International Airport. Using this cover, the engineers would gain access to the United States' most sensitive files. Infiltrating the Denver facility disguised as a detainee, Sam turns the tables. With Delta Force support, he eliminates Sadiq's men and confronts the mastermind himself. During the showdown, Sadiq claims that killing him will ignite wars with sympathetic nations, while keeping him alive will expose America's darkest secrets. Sam opts to take him prisoner, allowing President Caldwell to announce Sadiq's death publicly while secretly confining him. In a chilling epilogue, a recovered Victor Kost joins Sam in preparing to interrogate the captured terrorist leader. Blacklist sought to blend the franchise's stealth roots with the more aggressive pacing of Conviction. Its story brought Sam Fisher back into the fold of official operations, but also left him standing in the grey space between patriotism, secrecy, and vengeance. After Blacklist, 2013, the series entered a long, quiet stretch with no mainline game released through 2020. Internally, reporting in 2019 suggested no new Splinter Cell was in active production at Ubisoft at that time, despite recurring rumours, but cameos kept Sam Fisher visible. Ghost Recon Wildlands, 2018. Ubisoft rolled out Special Operation 1, a free crossover mission with Michael Ironside voicing Fisher, framed as a one-night op that acknowledged his age and history. Ghost Recon Breakpoint, 2020. The Deep State update added an 8-mission arc teaming with Fisher and introduced the Echelon class, Sonar, Vision, Shock Pistol, with the first mission free for all players. Rainbow Six Siege 2020. Fisher joined Team Rainbow as Operator Zero in Operation Shadow Legacy. Tom Clancy's Elite Squad 2020. Mobile crossover featuring Fisher. Ubisoft later announced Shutdown in 2021. At Facebook Connect 2020, Ubisoft announced Splinter Cell 5 VR as an Oculus exclusive led by Red Storm, with Reflections Dusseldorf, Mumbai. The project never shipped and was formally cancelled in July 2022 during Ubisoft's cost-cutting moves, useful to note as the culmination of experiments that began in this dormant window. Screen projects in development. In July 2020, Netflix revealed an animated Splinter Cell series with Derek Kolstad as showrunner. This is the project that ultimately became Splinter Cell Deathwatch, but at the time, it was simply announced as an animated adaptation in development. What this era did for the canon. From 2014 to 2020, Ubisoft kept Fisher in circulation via crossovers while shelving a full sequel. The Wildlands and Breakpoint missions positioned him as a veteran mentor figure still running black bag ops. Siege formalized him as Rainbow's Zero, implying he remained active in 2020 continuity. Meanwhile, the VR announcement and later cancellation and the Netflix deal show Ubisoft testing alternate avenues for the IP, while the console PC series lay dormant. Ubisoft officially greenlit a Splinter Cell remake, on December the 15th, 2021, led by Ubisoft Toronto and rebuilt from the ground up on the Snowdrop engine, the tech behind Avatar, Frontiers of Pandora and Ubisoft's Star Wars project. The studio pitched it as a faithful remake focused on new-gen visuals and gameplay, while preserving the series' signature dynamic lighting and shadows. Through 2022, the team surfaced in a 20th anniversary developer roundtable to explain pillars they're carrying forward: player agency in stealth, light/sound readability, and modernized tech, and shared early concept art. The message was, keep the DNA intact, modernize the delivery. Also, September 2022, Ubisoft Toronto job listings clarified a key creative decision. The remake would rewrite and update the story for a modern-day audience, while retaining the spirit and themes of the 2002 original. That confirmed a narrative refresh, rather than a line-by-line recreation. From 2023 into 2024, Ubisoft stayed mostly quiet publicly about milestones. The noteworthy corporate headline was targeted layoffs at Ubisoft Toronto in June 2024, with statements framing it as a realignment to deliver on the studio's roadmap. Toronto is also involved with Prince of Persia, the Sands of Time remake. Ubisoft didn't announce any cancellation or shift in stewardship for Splinter Cell Remake alongside those cuts. By the end of 2024, the remake remained officially in development with no release window, continuing to be described by Ubisoft as a from-scratch rebuild in Snowdrop under Toronto's lead. After years of rumours and crossovers keeping Sam Fisher alive in cameos, his first true return comes not in a game, but in animation. Splinter Cell: Deathwatch, an adult animated espionage series, premieres on Netflix this October 14th, produced by Ubisoft Film and Television. The project has been in the works since July 2020, when Ubisoft confirmed an animated adaptation with Derek Kolstad, creator of John Wick, as lead writer and executive producer. Direction comes from Guillaume Douce, with Félicien Colmé-Darge as co-director, while animation is handled by acclaimed studios Sun Creature and Fost. The show stars Liev Schreiber as the voice of Sam Fisher, marking the first time another actor fully embodies the role outside of games. Michael Ironside, Fisher's iconic voice for 2 decades, publicly endorsed the handoff in 2024, explaining that age prevented him from carrying the role forward. Alongside Schreiber, Janet Varney voices Anna Grimsdottir, reprising her place as Fisher's trusted technical officer. New characters include Kirby Howell-Baptiste as Zinnia McKenna, a young operative who draws Sam back into the field, and Joel Ouellette as Thunder. Narratively, Deathwatch is set after the events of Chaos Theory, grounding its continuity in one of the franchise's most acclaimed entries. The trailer even opens with the funeral of Douglas Shetland, Fisher's former ally turned adversary, whom Sam was forced to kill in 2005's game. This positions the series as a continuation rather than a reboot, exploring how an older Fisher grapples with the ghosts of past decisions while training and protecting a new generation of operatives. The official synopsis frames the premise around Sam being drawn back into action when Zinnia seeks him out after being wounded in the field, suggesting a dynamic of mentorship against the backdrop of new geopolitical threats. The style leans heavily into espionage noir, with Kolstad promising grounded storytelling and brutal action sequences influenced by John Wick. Early trailers showcased Fisher's classic gear, night vision goggles, stealth executions, and infiltration, brought to life with cinematic animation. The series is confirmed for 8 episodes in its debut season, each running roughly 30 minutes, with Ubisoft positioning it as both a gateway for new fans and a reward for long-time players. For the first time since Blacklist in 2013, Sam Fisher headlines his own narrative. Deathwatch may not be a video game, but it marks Ubisoft's most significant Splinter Cell project in over a decade, reminding audiences that the third echelon legend still has shadows left to haunt. After more than a decade without a new mainline entry, the future of Splinter Cell rests on two key pillars. First is the long-awaited remake of the original 2002 game, currently in development at Ubisoft Toronto using the Snowdrop engine. Ubisoft has stayed quiet on release timing, but it remains the clearest sign that the franchise still has a future in gaming. Beyond the remake, Ubisoft has teased other plans for the brand. While details are scarce, series writer Derek Kolstad has suggested that the animated Netflix series Death Watch could serve as an official extension of game canon, though Ubisoft ultimately decides how it integrates. If the show succeeds, it may influence narrative directions for future titles. For now, Death Watch is the most significant development for the franchise since Blacklist in 2013. Combined with the remake in progress, these projects signal that Ubisoft has not abandoned one of its most celebrated stealth series. Fans finally have reason to believe Sam Fisher's time in the shadows isn't over. Fisher is back in the conversation in a major way. And if you first discovered him on the Xbox or you're about to meet him through the Netflix series, the future looks brighter for a character who's spent his life in the dark. One thing's certain, Sam Fisher isn't done watching from the shadows.
And one for yourself. I can tell you right now. Two just ain't gonna be enough. Who killed my daughter?